Sorry for those looking for the wine and cheese tour. Didn't happen. So this is where you grew up?
Oh, yes, sir. Our nice little humble abode. Migrant Hotel is actually right up over here.
So that's how you know?
That's how you know.
Every room's full, or you have availabilities?
No, it's all full.
Get out of here.
$60,000 a month just on rental.
Hey, how's it going? Could I get a room if you don't mind?
That's some sketchy driving. That's some masshole stuff.
I know.
Jeez. What percentage is it migrants versus U.S. homeless?
Massachusetts is first richest state in New England.
Oh, this place is beautiful.
The way they're coming over and then we're paying for it, they have nicer cars than we do.
I think that's where the issue is when there's no transparency. Let's explain to the public what's going on exactly.
There's usually always something going on.
I've seen it.
So this is all central Mass down here.
Yup, you can see Boston in some points. You can see the skyscrapers out in the city.
Okay, so Gerald, today we're getting out there, right? We spoke on the phone and you told me central Massachusetts is a super interesting place. I don't think most of us think of that from the outside. They might think of Boston, for example, but I've never thought of, for example, central Mass.
Oh, yeah, most people don't. It's pretty crazy how the towns differ from one town to another. I mean, you drive over town lines and some towns are kind of run down. They need love put back into them, but then a lot of the towns are coming back now, which is good.
You're an old soul, Gerald.
Oh, thank you, Peter, yeah.
25 years old, right?
Yes, sir, 25.
And you have the true accent, is that fair to say here?
Maybe considered central Massachusetts accent, Bostonian. My family's from Canada, so it might kind of, they spoke French when I was growing up.
You have some A's in there? You
so it
dropped
might
some
have rubbed A, Canada A. It's pretty crazy how diverse Massachusetts is with all its different cultures, and everybody seems to get along pretty well. But in the past couple of years, with all the conflict in the media and political conflict, everybody's kind of at each other's necks, which is kind of sad to see. There's families that haven't talked in years because one believes in one thing, one believes in something totally different.
Oh, geez.
Massachusetts was the second richest state in New England. Now it's considered the first in New England. For a while, it was Connecticut at number one. I think it was a lot of like old money back in the day. There was a lot of farms around here. And
all right, so even though we're pretty close to Boston, fair to say?
we're like an hour away, I think.
But it's farm country out here, huh?
We're kind of in the mix of a couple big cities. So we are kind of like right in a pocket of rural area. And obviously everybody's not rolling in money. There are some people who have a lot of money out here and are doing well for themselves, but there's a lot of regular people who are just struggling, working 2 or 3 jobs, trying to pay rent and trying to cover groceries.
Are they living in two different worlds, like don't interact with one another, those two groups?
They get along pretty well. There's not a lot of disagreement between a higher class and lower class, but there's definitely some stigmatization towards people being lower income. I mean, if you tell somebody you're from Fitchburg, Massachusetts, people will get a weird look in their eyes because they probably heard of how it is kind of a rougher area.
And we're going there today, right?
Yep. My parents are middle class. Both of them are blue-collar workers. I mean, being out here, there are a lot of blue-collar workers, but in the past 20 years, a lot of white-collar and business-type people have moved out here, which did cause an influx of housing prices.
Okay, how much for one of these houses now?
$450,000. The average house in Massachusetts is around $500,000. I mean, this house is for sale right now, and I think it's listed at $450,000. Which is a lot of money for a single-story or ranch in general.
One garage, not that big.
Yeah.
What about a guy like you, 25 years old? Where's your mind with this stuff?
Honestly, kind of worried. Not even from my generation. A lot of the younger generation is getting born into a world that doesn't exist anymore, if that makes sense. It's almost impossible for someone working one job to buy a house or cover rent. I mean, my uncle, a town over from here, it's kind of a dumpy little town, but he pays $1,800 for a one-room apartment every month, and it's pretty crazy to...
Wow.
Oh, this is my dad, by the way.
This is your dad. Nice. How you doing?
Hey, what's up?
Not much. I'm blessed to be with your son today.
Taking you for the tour?
Yeah, what a character. Peter.
Peter, how you doing?
Nice
Michael.
to meet you, Michael. Why aren't you doing the yard work?
I usually mow the lawn. I do help out a lot. We have a wood stove, so we got to stack the wood up every year. We usually get 5 cords of wood. That's how we heat our house. So there's always something to do around here, whether it's mowing the grass, having my garden. My tomato plants are kind of decrepit over there, but some of them are growing. Hey, Dad, I'm just grabbing something. We'll be back, okay?
Cool.
Nice meeting you.
Love you, Dad. I'll see you.
Your dad's how old?
60.
Wow, he's in great shape.
Yeah, pretty good
ripped.
shape, yeah.
So this is where you grew up?
Oh, yes, sir. I was born here. This is the only house I've ever lived in, which is pretty crazy.
Oh, what a zone. And you got the old 300D turbo diesel.
I paid $500 for it. It was sitting in some guy's backyard for 20 years. It was his grandfather's, and I kept on asking him, like, will you sell it one day? Will you sell it? He's like, I might keep it and work on it. And then finally last year, he's like, would you give me $500 for it? I'm like, of course. I thought you were gonna ask $2,500. Got lucky on it. I would have took that today, but it doesn't have a sticker. The last sticker's from 2008 on it, so that's just looking for trouble.
Can I keep rolling the camera or no?
Of course, Peter.
Tell me when you want me to shut it off.
I'll show you out back real quickly.
Okay,
I mean,
this is great.
Our nice little humble abode with we got some jalapeno peppers over here that are coming out pretty good. We got some chickens in the back. We have a tree house that was once in a tree, but a really bad windstorm came and it knocked it out of the tree. These are some of my friends over here.
Okay, so back in the day, if you don't mind me asking, what was the price of something like this in this region?
My parents, not to give an exact amount, but it was a lot cheaper. I mean, I'll just tell people, it was $100,000 for this house, but it needed a lot of work. When my parents first moved in, every wall had a different type of paneling on it.
When did they move in?
1992, I think.
Okay, so 100,000 then was like 250 now, but now this would be $500,000.
$500,000 usually. This whole town is $500,000, which is crazy to think about. I mean, Western Mass, it gets kind of cheaper, but then you're kind of in the zone of being so far away from everything. There's really no job opportunities out there to pay for the house.
All right, well, let's get into it.
Sounds good.
Yeah, you sure you don't want to come?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
You're good?
I got a gig tonight. You like banjo picking music?
Oh, nice. Nice.
They're in a few different
You play
bands.
banjo?
I'm the bass player.
Oh, nice.
The big upright bass. So.
What's the name of the band?
The Suck Knots.
You
the
changed
Suck
it.
Knots.
Yeah.
Okay, do you have an Instagram page, a website? Facebook.
Facebook, yeah.
So people should look up the Suck Knots.
And 8-Track Mind, he's in another one.
S-U-Q.
S-U-Q-N-O-T.
S. Because we don't want to offend anyone.
Love you, Dad. I'll see ya.
Yeah, guys.
You got a cool dad.
You know the band Heart, Peter? His band actually opened up for one of the sisters of Heart a few months ago. The people who play that song Barracuda, that was really well known for a while.
You
You ever go to that staircase out in Philadelphia, Peter, when you were out there?
Yeah, I have. It's pretty cool.
I was lucky enough to be able to born out here, and since I'm 25, I mean, even in the time I've been alive, I have seen a lot of the changes in the area, some good, some bad, and there's a lot of towns that are just stuck in the mud that need people to want to care about their town and community again. I mean, some of the towns we'll drive through have trash everywhere and trash on the sidewalks.
So not far from here, you have towns with trash everywhere that are beat up.
Definitely, yeah.
And this is a great existence.
Yeah, this is a rural community. It's nice. There's definitely a lot of stuff for people to do, like gardening clubs and clubs for the kids. And a lot of people, when you say you're from Massachusetts, they think it's Boston, kind of like when someone says they're from New York. New York is such a big state, and there's rural areas, there's farmland. And
New York is huge.
some guy just cut us off, and that's what gives Massachusetts a bad reputation and why everybody calls us massholes. I mean, it's not 100% across the board, but if you go to other states in New England and ask them what their least favorite state is or their least favorite community in New England, a lot of people will say Massachusetts or massholes. I mean,
Okay, so growing up in Vermont, my first 18 years were there. I totally looked down on anything outside of Vermont, to be honest, but definitely on Massachusetts, and so I'm familiar with masshole. But these days, I was in southern Vermont, and I just went to Charlemont. That part of Massachusetts, Western Mass, was freaking awesome.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful up there.
I had no clue.
Up in the mountains.
Like, that is freaking awesome down there. So back to all my content, you can't necessarily label a state easily.
Oh yeah.
Because there's a region of the state, there's a county, even in that county, there might be totally different areas in it.
For anyone watching, if you want good outdoor activities, check out Western Mass. It's very overlooked and not a lot of people
Totally.
talk about it, but there's mountain biking, there's whitewater rafting, there's
I back
hiking,
that.
beautiful out there.
I totally back that.
This is the town of Fort Devens or Devens. It was once a military base for a very long time. It actually got shut down mid-90s, and there still is a portion of the town that is military occupied, but there's a lot of residential and commercial out here now. When my dad was growing up, his best friend was a Green Beret, and they used to come out here and you used to have to get signed in and have clearance to pull through the gates. Now there's a lot of pharmaceutical companies up that way. There's a nuclear power plant coming up, and I actually went to school over here after high school and got into the union through them. I was in the Carpenters Union for 4 or 5 years. That's a state-funded program to get people jobs, or people from the inner city jobs, or line people up with a career path that they otherwise wouldn't be able to get without that assistance.
Okay, so super helpful for you?
I consider it helpful, but when I was going on, there was a lot of trouble in the school also. Like, it all depends what group you align to. There was a lot of people who were from gangs or were from rough backgrounds, so you just had to stay with the right headspace and be with the right people, if that made sense. Don't get mixed up with the wrong crowd. When I was growing up, I got sent to a couple of different schools. I got in some trouble, so they sent me to a charter school that was in Worcester, in a really rough part of the city, and I learned a lot from them. Like, I think getting in trouble at one point made me learn later on that there's a lot more in life than getting in trouble, and if I hang out with the right people, it'll get you a lot farther in life instead of hanging out with a bad crowd and taking a wrong turn in life. I mean, there's a lot of trouble out here, whether it's you're getting hooked on drugs and gang violence, and there's definitely stuff to do for the younger generation, but there's a lot less to do now than when my parents were growing up. There was a golf course and driving range that got shut down. There was basketball courts that got shut down, batting cages. I mean, there's still stuff to do, but it's like a different type of stuff, if that makes sense.
Yeah, okay, this town has a different feel to it.
Yeah, the Migrant Hotel is actually right up